Hello, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today, taking time out of your day to join us for this info session about the end of life care programs at the University of Vermont. I am joined today by the program lead and by several of our star instructors of our various end of life programs. I just want to let you know that the comment section have been turned off, but there is a Q&A so that you can enter any questions that you have into that chat. And then Lauren, who is behind the scenes, will respond to you. And or if needed, we can take the question live as well. So we are going to go through the agenda for what we're talking about today. And then at the end, we're going to make sure that we leave enough time for questions. And I'm waiting for the agenda slide, the next slide. There we go. Thank you so much. So we're going to, as I said, introduce to you Julie Raymond Jacobian, our program lead. She will talk about end-of-life care education at the University of Vermont, who are our students, who are common students, and the type of students who are interested and the candidates for the course, and what careers also can come out of taking our professional certificate in end-of-life doula care or our other end-of-life care courses. We will then go over the end-of-life programs at UVM, and that's when we'll hear from our instructors as well. And then a short intro to each of the upcoming courses, because we are responding to feedback from our students and our alumni about the types of courses and topics that they'd like to learn more about. And so we continue to do this and we continue to grow, and we're really excited about it. And then we'll have time for questions. So I will pass it over to Julie.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight to learn more about our program. My name is Julie Raymond Jacobian, and as Jess said, I'm the team lead here at the University of Vermont, and I have been with this program for almost a year now. I'm also a graduate of the program, so I'm really excited to be part of this because I know firsthand the value of the courses we offer, including the end-of-life doula, companion animal doula, business foundations, and grief and bereavement specialist courses that I have all graduated from. After completing the end-of-life doula and companion animal doula courses years ago, I recommended this program to so many others. And so the opportunity to now help lead the program and grow our community is really meaningful to me. I'm also a practicing end-of-life doula in Alaska, where I'm joining you from tonight and where I live. My practice includes offering both end-of-life doula and home funeral guide services for both humans and companion animals. And I'm really passionate about my work. And in particular, I really love working on legacy projects with clients. Here in Alaska, we're in the sunniest time of the year with no real darkness where I live until later this summer. And so I'm not sure what it's like where you are, but I hope you're having a great evening. And thanks again for joining us. And we can move on to the next slide, and I can share a little bit about what is end-of-life care and what is an end-of-life doula. And an end-of-life doula, for those of you who may not be very familiar with this or who are new to this, is a person who provides a compassionate presence at end of life or when planning and preparing for end of life. And doulas provide a wide range of services to their clients. Each doula decides what offerings they are most skilled in or interested in providing. A really important point to understand is that end-of-life doulas are non-medical, though our offerings complement the treatments and offerings of many medical professionals. And this slide shows just a few of the many kinds of services that end-of-life doulas offer, from comfort care to vigil sitting. Other kinds of offerings might include advanced care directive guidance, spiritual or religious discussions, general companionship, facilitation of difficult conversations with family and loved ones, and things like legacy projects and life reviews, as well as grief support. Doulas provide a non-judgmental and compassionate presence and advocate for the wishes of their clients. The courses we offer through the End-of-Life Doula program provide numerous opportunities for you to build your doula skill set or to expand it in ways that suit your interests, your clients, and your communities. So we can go to the next slide, and I can tell you a little bit about who our students in our classes typically are. First of all, if you're here today on this webinar, and if you have curiosity and interest in doula work or about death and dying generally, our End-of-Life Doula course is probably a good fit for you. Not everyone who takes our flagship End-of-Life Doula course intends to become a doula, though many do. Lots of people are already practicing in the field of end-of-life care in some way. For example, doctors, nurses, palliative care and hospice staff, chaplains, counselors and therapists, volunteers, and others. Some of our learners are currently caretakers of family members or other loved ones, or anticipate being caretakers in the future and want to feel as prepared as possible. Other students are curious and compassionate learners who have the desire to serve the dying with enhanced knowledge and skills. So our End-of-Life Doula course is a fit for all of those folks and more, and our specialist courses like Companion Animal Doula, Pediatric End-of-Life Doula, Grief and Bereavement Specialist, and others that you'll hear about tonight are opportunities to add to your doula toolkit or just to deepen your knowledge in one specific area that you have interest in. We can move to the next slide and talk about how you might use the knowledge and skills that you learn through our courses. Our courses are truly for anyone who is interested in adding end-of-life doula skills to their toolkit, again, to complement their existing work or training. And some of you may be specifically planning to become an end-of-life doula and perhaps to open your own practice. And that's fantastic and exciting, and we have courses for you. There are many other roles and positions that our courses will be valuable training for, including hospice staff and volunteers, people working in home health care, particularly with end-of-life patients, or in elder care, people working in the healthcare fields who engage with patients at or around planning for end-of-life, social workers who have clients near end of life, mental health care providers or support staff, chaplains, and others providing spiritual and religious support, staff at senior centers, adult daycares, or community resource centers, and related fields of work as well. So you can move to the next slide. And I'm happy to share that we have, as Jess noted, several other instructors on the line with us today, and we're going to briefly review some of the courses in our portfolio. I'll share about our End-of-Life Doula Professional Certificate course and our Grief Bereavement Specialist course, and then I'll turn it over to Sarah to talk about Business Foundations, and we'll continue on from there. So our End-of-Life Doula Professional Certificate course is our flagship course that has had several thousand alumni successfully go through the course and complete it. And in this course, students will come to understand and be able to describe the role and scope of an end-of-life doula, as well as develop and apply core end-of-life doula skills. Students will learn about working in harmony with a client's chosen care team and how to develop and respect professional and personal boundaries. You will gain a knowledge about common terminal conditions and diseases, pain management practices, the active dying process, and helpful non-medical interventions to ease suffering. You'll learn about how to engage in meaningful conversations and life reviews with clients. You will learn to recognize and support anticipatory grief, mourning, and bereavement, as well as how to nurture a protective and calm presence and environment during vigil sitting. You'll have an opportunity to develop an awareness of cultural perspectives about end of life and considerations for working with special populations, as well as how to support clients in identifying their values and developing their wishes around end of life. With our Grief and Bereavement Specialist course, this is an online asynchronous 8-week grief and bereavement training program, and it offers a structured and evidence-based approach to grief education. You'll build on foundational knowledge of end-of-life care and focus on the post-death bereavement process and grief support training. This course empowers both professionals and community members to lead peer support groups. Whether you're a healthcare professional, a mental health practitioner, an educator, clergy member, or community leader, this grief training program equips you to confidently lead grief support groups and foster healing in your community. And as a student in this course, you will gain an in-depth understanding of the psychological aspects of grief, types of grief, the history of some grieving practices, and tools and techniques for setting up and running groups. You'll also develop the skills to structure and facilitate those peer support groups in, for example, community centers, schools, hospitals, or faith-based organizations or other contexts. You'll build confidence in addressing grief within your profession, whether working with clients, students, or congregants. You'll learn how to create a supportive and structured environment that fosters healing as well as meaningful connections. And you'll have a chance to develop an awareness of cultural perspectives about grief and bereavement and considerations for working with special populations and circumstances. Sarah, would you like to share with us about the Business Foundations course?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Julie. And hi, everybody. We're so glad you're here with us tonight. So, the End of Life Doula Business Foundations program is our answer to supporting doulas who have a great understanding of what it means to be an end of life doula, but might still be challenged in trying to understand and figure out how they can stand up their own private practice. As you can imagine, so many of us come to this work with really giant hearts and compassion and a willingness to be of service, but we may not necessarily understand some of the foundational skills that are required to stand up that private practice. So this 8-week asynchronous online course is your building blocks to getting to practice, taking the learning that you will do as an end of life doula and then activating it so that you can go out into the world with confidence and attract clients as an end of life doula. I would say that the best thing to know about the program is that across the 8 weeks, each week kind of focuses on a specific area of business, such as marketing or sales or finance. But what we do is we kind of put that through the filter and the lens of an end of life doula, because they're not exactly the same as your kind of standard typical business model. So they marry both things kind of in a beautiful way, because I know we heard from a lot of doulas, the idea of marketing our services just doesn't feel right. And we understand that. So we definitely put a layer through it of how can we make this appropriate and correct for both our own community as doulas, as well as those that we want to serve. So, in the 8-week course, the idea is that we're going to help you discover and communicate what your unique value as an end of life doula is. I'm not everybody's doula, and it's good to know how I can convey to folks the way that I show up to this work so that I can attract the clients that are right for me. And we doulas work in great community together. So, understanding how we can speak to our own unique talents, skill sets, and the way that we practice is a first core part of how to be successful as a doula, a professional doula. We're then going to help you identify your specific service areas and offerings that are in alignment with the clients that you want to attract and also the community that you belong to, making sure there's alignment with need states there. We're going to also help you initiate, develop, and build strong client relations and community networks. That is critical to the work of the professional doula, knowing how to navigate those webs of connection to really get you kind of off and running. We also look to help you figure out what's the right business structure for me. Do I want to be in private practice? Do I want to be part of a collaborative? Do I want to start some sort of nonprofit offering within my community? Those are all kind of key considerations about how you might approach starting this work in your own communities. We also really want you to understand the utility of building trusted relationships and strategic partnerships in the end of life space. So we focus a bit on that as well. But ultimately, it's about giving you the kind of foundational best practices you need to go from learning about what it is to be a doula to actually actively practicing as one, a professional doula. So hope to see you for this summer's run of the course.
Thanks so much, Sarah. I'd like to move on now to sharing some information about our pediatric end-of-life doula specialist course. And pediatric end-of-life care is really an underserved area, and many professionals feel unprepared to face the unique emotional and developmental challenges of working with dying children and their families. And this specialist certificate is an online asynchronous 4-week course that provides advanced death doula training, equipping experienced professionals to address this critical gap with confidence and compassion. This training prepares end-of-life specialists to navigate the emotional, developmental, and systemic complexities of pediatric cases. Throughout this course, students will learn how to guide families through honest conversations, how to support siblings and caregivers, and how to offer non-medical advocacy in moments when traditional healthcare systems may not be able to. The course presents a variety of published information, videos, and chances for learners to examine their own experience, beliefs, hopes, and fears about pediatric death and dying. This course creates a supportive learning experience with many opportunities to build community, as the subject is quite intense and challenging and can be deeply affecting. So in this course, students will learn how to understand developmental stages and how those stages influence a child's experience of dying, how to facilitate sensitive discussions around grief and decision-making, empowering both children and their families and loved ones, how to develop skills to navigate complex family dynamics and ensure that siblings, parents, and caregivers feel seen and supported. And learners will also build your ability to approach pediatric end-of-life care with confidence, empathy, and transforming fear into preparedness. And next, I'll share about our companion animal end-of-life doula professional certificate course, and then I'll pass it on to Nikki to share about pet loss and Matilda for navigating change. So I don't know if I'm allowed to have a favorite amongst all of our wonderful courses in the program, but the companion animal end-of-life doula course has a special place in my heart. And this course is an online asynchronous 6-week course designed to provide an in-depth overview of end-of-life care for companion animals. We review medical options and procedures, quality of life assessments, comfort care, bereavement, and memorialization, and introduce many approaches to providing compassionate emotional support to those suffering the loss of their beloved companion animal. This course presents a wide variety of published information, interviews with industry professionals, and chances for learners to examine their own experiences, beliefs, and fears about death and dying around companion animals. This course is very special because the instructional team includes not just a qualified and experienced end-of-life doula, but also veterinary subject matter experts who engage with students throughout the course and are able to answer specific veterinary questions from students about things like procedures, approaches, and other topics. And in this course, some of the things that students will learn and skills they will develop include a greater understanding of the human-animal bond, how to work in harmony with a pet owner's chosen care team, an understanding of common end-of-life trajectories in companion animals, pain management assessment practices, the dying process, and helpful interventions to ease physical and emotional suffering. Learners will also come to recognize and support anticipatory grief, mourning, and bereavement, to support clients in developing end-of-life wishes and after-death care, and to describe meaningful modes of memorializing the enduring bond between caretakers and their pets. Learners will also come to nurture compassionate and calm presence and environment during euthanasia or natural pet death if requested by clients, and to develop an awareness of additional alternative care modalities and cultural perspectives concerning companion animals. Students will also gain an awareness of best practices and tips for identifying pathways and tips for incorporating pathways into existing animal caregiver roles and potential new doula business opportunities. So Nikki, I'd love to turn it over to you now to talk about another great course for those interested in working in the companion animal sphere, our pet loss support group specialist course.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Julie. Yes, the pet pet loss support group specialist program is has been designed to prepare anyone who's committed to supporting pet parents or pet guardians who have gone through the death of their beloved pet and who are interested in learning how to facilitate a pet loss support group. Pet loss support groups have proliferated And we're dedicated to making sure that a person who's going to facilitate a group like that has a very firm foundation in understanding different modalities of grief and how that relates to the loss of a pet, and how the really big emotions that pet parents will feel after the death of their pet, guilt and yearning, and a desire to remain somehow in relationship with their pet, are all covered in the course. We also really emphasize three foundational principles to approaching pet loss, and how those principles can be applied in many different situations of pet loss. We cover different kinds of pet loss and transitions. One of the things that is exciting about the course is that all the material is very up to date. It's all evidence-based. There's been tremendous research in pet loss and the impact on pet guardians and pet parents. And it also, we also have a wonderful variety of interviews that were done specifically for this course with experts and in the fields of anthrozoology, exotic veterinary medicine, pet grief therapy specifically, and a pet chaplain. So it's an opportunity for students to be to have those kinds of interactions and to really learn over a spectrum of pet loss. The other aspect that is unique is that we want students at the end of the course to feel that very confident in their own strengths to be able to do this. So alongside of learning about grief, and specifically pet grief and pet loss and attachment theory and other grief theories, students will be working on becoming very aware of their own unique combination of strengths, and that combination is really the gift that we bring as facilitators to pet loss support. This is a great course for alumni of the Companion Animal End-of-Life Doula program, and to take it the next step to help people in a group setting with being able to companion and understand how their grief journey is not an isolated grief journey. It really is about community and supporting pet parents who may feel what's called disenfranchised grief, which is the term for people who are the kind of people who say when somebody loses a pet, just get another dog. There are a lot of, we always say that we forget that there are people out there who may not be such animal lovers as we are. So we learn how to support grieving pet parents in that situation. So that is, that's, I mean, there's a lot more to it. And I will say that every module presents very tangible skills and takeaways and materials for a potential pet loss support group facilitator, so that people will leave the course with all the resources that they need to begin a pet loss support group.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Matilda, I'll pass it on to you just to discuss the course Navigating Change in Life Transitions, and then I'll be excited to share with everyone some new courses we have starting this fall.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Julie. So navigating life transitions is part of the overall PACE catalog rather than specifically part of the doula catalog. But I'm honored to be here to present about it because I started with UVM in the end of life doula program as an instructor. I also took the course, and my motivation for developing the life transitions course was seeing life transitions enacted through end of life. And that is everywhere through the end of life experience. The person who is dying is going through a transition. The people around them are going through a transition. You, as a doula, are going through a transition as you are working with and letting go of clients. And in this course, the way that we look at transition is our psychological and emotional response to external change. So, this course seeks to not only address transitions at end of life, but transitions across the lifespan. So, that will be things like um, entering the workforce as a young person, retirement, getting married, having children, having your children go to kindergarten, having your children go to college, getting diagnosed with a terminal illness, having your spouse retire. Lives are shaped by external transitions and our emotional responses to them. So, learning how to sort of navigate and surf these waves is really a resilience skill in life. And like all of the doula courses, we look not only at working with other people through life transitions, but we also look at our own life transitions and how we have handled transitions in the past and how we will handle transitions in the future. So, as all of our programs, it is very, very much a self development course along with an educational and training course. And so, my feeling as the course developer is that this course is appropriate not only for people working in end of life and in grief, but also anyone who's working with anybody in a life transition. So that could be a school counselor who's working with children who are going from elementary school to middle school or high school. It could be someone who is working with people who are retiring. It could be, you could be a social worker. You could be working with anyone who is experiencing life transitions, and we all are, and we all are experiencing them, not only our own, but through the other people in our lives. So, our loved ones and the people who we hold dear, their transitions affect us and send us in transition too. So, the course has broad application, I think, for everyone personally and professionally. And the feedback that I have gotten from students is that it has really helped them feel a little bit more relaxed about confronting change in their lives and the lives of people around them. The course is very heavily interactive, lots of discussion board posting interactions. We do case studies. We read to very personal stories of life transition. We draw upon cultural traditions, different models of transition, rituals, and everything that we can use to widen our lens on transitions, how they show up for us and for the other people in our life, and how we can learn to be more resilient in the face of them. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Matilda. We can go to the next slide, and I'm really excited to just briefly let you know about two new courses that will be starting this fall in late October. The first is our Childhood Grief Support Professional Certificate course. This is a 4-week professional certificate program designed for adults who are in direct contact with and in support of children. It was created with caregivers, educators, clinicians, child-serving professionals, community partners, and family caregivers in mind. This program prepares learners to respond to childhood grief with confidence, care, and skill. And this course is a wonderful way to extend your knowledge and skills in pediatrics and grief support, and pairs really well with our pediatric end-of-life doula course and our grief and bereavement specialist course. The other course that will be starting up in the fall time is our End-of-Life Doula Dementia Care Professional Certificate course. This is also a 4-week online asynchronous course that integrates dementia-specific knowledge with end-of-life care principles. Learners will gain practical skills and tools to support communication, reduce distress, and foster connection and dignity through the progression of illness and into the dying process. And this course is a great way to further develop your end-of-life doula skill set if you have particular interests in dementia care. Both of these new professional certificate courses were developed by experienced end-of-life doulas who are part of our instructor team here at the University of Vermont. And we'll have more information about these 2 new courses available soon, and you'll be able to find that on our main End-of-Life Doula program webpage, which is shown on the slide. We can go to the next slide. And Jess, if you'd like to talk about our programs. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Julie, and Nikki, and Sarah, and Matilda. I think some of the people are feeling the same way I am, which is I want to take all of these courses. So there have been, or actually, you know what, why don't I read through this slide and then we'll get the next slide. We'll do some questions because I've been looking a little bit at the Q&A. But just a few more reasons why you want to come and take some of the courses that we have created here at the University of Vermont. We were the first end-of-life doula program in the country developed by a medical school, and also we're affiliated with the Osher Center for Integrative Health. And this just means that we had a lot of subject matter experts weigh in on the material, and we've had now over 5,000 alumni of this 8-week end-of-life doula professional certificate, and it's just continually been improved and updated. So we're very proud of that. And then also we just have this wonderful resource at the university, which is the Osher Center. And it's an opportunity to just be affiliated through this program, through them to be invited to lectures and seminars and be a part of their directory, and also other types of benefits for being an alumni of our program. And write more about our wonderful subject matter experts, most of whom are active, currently practicing end-of-life doulas, and our ever-growing course catalog that, again, we really heavily rely on our students and alumni and kind of the world and the market to see what's missing that needs to be added. So next we can go to the next slide, which is some frequently asked questions. And I'm going to ask Julie these questions, and I'm going to throw one out there immediately, which was, I was saying, I want to take all of these courses. I've noticed in the question, people are saying, is there an order? Are there prerequisites? Do I have to take one course in order to take another course? So Julie, what would you say to those types of questions?
Yeah, thank you, Jess. There are no prerequisites for any of our courses, and you can really take them in any order that you would like to. We do recommend that you take the End-of-Life Doula course first, if you're able to, because it really does lay out the basic foundations, the basic knowledge, the basic skills that you need to practice as an end-of-life doula. So if you think you want to practice with a pediatric specialty, for example, but have no end-of-life doula experience, it would be probably a good idea to take the end-of-life doula course and then the pediatric course, for example. Similarly, with our business foundations course, if you haven't had any training as an end-of-life doula yet, and you think you might want to start a practice, it's probably a good idea to take the end-of-life doula course first to make sure that that is a path that you want to go on. And so you know what kinds of questions maybe to ask and to think about when you're in the business foundations course, for example. So no set order. It's really up to you to choose, but our flagship course, the End-of-Life Doula Professional Certificate course, is really a great place to start and then branch off into the other courses that interest you.
Great, thank you. Can you also tell us about, I may combine some of these questions in the interest of time so that we can get to some of the live ones, but tell us about what a typical week is like in the courses and also like kind of how do online courses work? So if
Yeah.
I'm someone who hasn't taken an online course or it's been a long time since I have taken any type of structured type of course, and this is a non-credit course, so there it's through professional and continuing education. So there's no application or credits. But so
hmm
what does that look like to take an online course with us?
Yeah, thank you. For most of our courses, students should expect to spend about 7 to 10 hours a week on coursework, the discussion boards, and optional live sessions. You will be engaging in readings, you will be doing assignments, you'll have videos and podcasts to watch and listen to, in addition to engaging with your fellow students and your instructor. Um, our online courses are asynchronous, meaning that they are self-paced, with the caveat that, for example, in an 8-week course, each week does have assignment due dates, but in the course of that week and throughout that module, you can do the material at your own pace. Students do again coursework at their own schedule within those modules leading up to the end of the 8 weeks. We use a platform called Brightspace where you do all of your assignments and all of your discussions take place. And the asynchronous nature of these courses can really make them ideal for people who have busy family and work schedules to fit things in after work, before work, whatever works for your schedule. Um, in terms of interaction and engagement during a course, all of our instructors hold an office hour each week during the weeks that we don't have optional live sessions. And the office hours are a great opportunity for students to connect directly with their instructor if that's something that you're wanting and seeking. And our live sessions are also a great way to connect with your instructor and other learners in the course. The live sessions are always optional for students, and they are recorded so that you can go visit them at another date if you're not able to join. The discussion boards are a really important part of the course, which I think some of our instructors mentioned. And this is where you'll be answering questions as part of your assignments, practicing your doula voice with other learners in the course, and learning from each other. So I think maybe that answers your question, Jess. Did I miss
It
anything?
does. I think you also jumped. I was going to combine 2 and 3, and I think you just spoke to those as well
Oh,
in
great.
terms of interaction. Maybe just tell us a little bit more about what are the live sessions. You said that they are um,
Yes.
not required, but like how many of them are there? What's that format? You spoke about the office hours, and an office hour is really for somebody who wants to connect with the instructor, whether about some of the content or something go further. But what are the live sessions like?
Yeah, the live sessions are different for each of our courses. Our end of life doula, companion animal doula, grief and bereavement, pediatric specialist, and pet loss support specialist classes all have live sessions. Some have two, and some have three. And these live sessions are where your instructor or myself as team lead, I lead some of these, will dive deeper into some of the topics that you're learning about in the course. And there will be opportunity to, again, dive deeper into something along with any of your classmates that decide to join that session as well. They will be recorded. You'll know the dates ahead of time. They'll be recorded, so you can either revisit them if you were there and want to listen to something again, or if you couldn't make it, you'll be able to go back and access the recording through Brightspace. And again, as Jeff said, the office hours that instructors hold, if you have questions about assignments or feedback that you've gotten or questions about the thematic material that you're working on, an office hour is a great opportunity to go and connect and potentially get into more discussion about those topics as well.
I'm seeing several questions about the distinction between end of life doula versus a hospice nurse or a social worker or a chaplain. Can you tell us how those roles are different, but how they interact?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I'll say is just to reiterate again that end-of-life doulas are non-medical support. And so for a hospice nurse, for example, that's a major difference. Hospice nurses are providing direct medical care, whereas an end-of-life doula would not be. End-of-life doulas, we often talk about end-of-life doulas as filling gaps in the care system that exists. And even with, great services like hospice, a hospice nurse may only come, for a limited time over the course of a week, for example. But as end-of-life doulas, we have the ability, if we want to offer this, to be much more present with our clients and their loved ones. I've had clients that I've spent 8 hours at their house in one day because that's what was requested and needed. Or I've gone to a client's house, multiple times in a week to support them in different ways. So as end-of-life doulas, we are able to kind of fill these gaps in support. We're able to support people in discussions that it may be difficult to have with family members. It may be that we are addressing topics that a social worker may not be familiar with or may not be super comfortable talking about. So we are enhancements, we are additions to all of these other disciplines and fields that are helping to address end-of-life care. So we're not replacing anyone, we're helping to fill in gaps and maybe add to care that someone is getting through one of those other types of providers.
Thank you. I also just want to cover the last bullet point on the slide that we're seeing, which is what do you receive at the completion of the course?
Yes, if you successfully complete our courses, you will receive a certificate of completion, which can be printed or shared digitally. And this is not a certification. We do not provide certifications. That's a bigger discussion about, how doulas are and are not certified, licensed, things like that, which they are not. So if you complete the course, you will receive a certificate of completion that says you have successfully moved through all of the modules in the course and should have the skills and knowledge to be able to go out and practice.
Great. And I think our next slide is just one for a stand-in for more questions. So we can see how many more we can get answered in the time that we have. I saw one, Julie, that she was saying, if we know if end-of-life program addresses medical aid in dying, as their state has passed a MAID Act, and I think that is, I'm pointing this to Julie because this is, please answer in terms of if our course addresses it, but also know that this is a topic that we are investigating or researching further to see if this is something that could also be a course. But does our current curriculum cover that or touch
Our
upon it?
current curriculum does not really address medical aid in dying at this time in any kind of detail, nor voluntary stopping of eating and drinking, be said. These are topics that, there are options at end of life, and we want people to be aware of them, but the course does not have, a focus on either of those things.
And
but perhaps in the future. Thank you for the questions.
Yeah, what about the end of our end of life course? I can see if I can combine some of these questions here. Does any of it talk about business? So is there any business within the end of life course aside from the specific business course? And what about the topic of religion or religious tradition?
Yeah, thank you. In terms of business, we do have a bonus module in the end of life doula course that does cover some information about, thinking about starting potentially a doula business. But really, if you really want to dig into like the mechanics, the logistics, the bureaucracies of starting a doula practice, our business foundation course is going to be the best place for you to get a really in-depth look at what it takes to do that and what steps you'll need to do.
I'll also add now, I should have said this at the beginning, that this is being recorded, this info session. So it will be sent out to everybody who registered, and it will also be on our website. I see we're at time, but maybe we can get a few more in. There was one about the grief course. How much of it is info about different types of grief and how much about the mechanics of setting up a group?
Um, it's a mix of both. And so you're going to learn about grief and bereavement, how to recognize it, how to support clients that are experiencing grief and bereavement. And there are specific exercises as well to help you think through the mechanics of setting up a peer support group to support people going through grief. So it is a mix of both, and it really, as a graduate of that course, I can say it really does help prepare you for setting out into the world to be able to support people who are experiencing grief, either as a support group specialist or just one-on-one with clients as well.
And do any of our courses cover Indigenous Native American approaches to death and dying?
We do have limited material that talks about Indigenous beliefs and practices around end of life, but I would say it is definitely not a focus in any of our courses. And I really appreciate you bringing up that question. I work with a lot of Indigenous communities myself. You will receive some information about that in the course and in some of our supportive materials, but it is not a focus at this time. Thanks for that question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all your questions. I apologize we cannot get to all of them. I would say to please look at the website. I think some of the questions can be answered there. I can tell you we're currently not running a scholarship. So that was a question there. So we do not have that as an opportunity right now. And also that we have student service specialists who you can chat when you're on our website. You can email at learn@uvm.edu. So there are people here who can answer your questions, and even ones that come up later. So thank you to Julie, Nikki, Sarah, Matilda, Lauren behind the scenes, Justin behind the scenes, and thank you to every person who was here tonight. And we hope to see you at one of our classes. Take care. Thanks.